I didn't expect to say this about a Fredericksburg landmark. Our old hospital could become 242 apartments. And what happens next on Wednesday may change traffic and housing on Fall Hill Avenue forever. In this video, we're going to tell you 3 quick things about what's proposed, what neighbors want fixed, and what City Hall decides next. Hello and welcome to Potomac Local News. I am founder and publisher Uriah Kaiser. We appreciate you joining us here on YouTube. If local accountability reporting matters to you, whether you live in Fredericksburg, Manassas, or Woodbridge, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. That way more of our neighbors see the local news that matters most to them. And if you want even more local news, go to our website, potomaclocal.com, where we update our site all day long, every day with can't miss local news headlines. Plus, we send out a free email newsletter so you never miss a headline. Go to our website, potomaclocal.com, and sign up for our free email newsletter and never miss a beat. A $50 million plan would convert the former Mary Washington Hospital site into 242 apartments. Now, we're talking everything from studio apartments up to 3-bedroom apartments. Now, you'll remember this hospital, this building was used as a hospital from 1945 up until 1995 when the current Mary Washington Hospital opened nearby this former site. The building still stands today and it is largely empty. The last few tenants, office tenants, are moving out. Yes, the building has largely been used for an office space for years. You might remember the Fredericksburg Regional Chamber of Commerce was one of the most notable tenants before they moved out and got their new office space, which they're in now, again nearby, in March 2024. The developer that wants to convert this building, they need a special use permit, because they're trying to exceed the base density in this area. They want to build 242 apartments, but by right, all that's allowed in this area is about 8 apartments per acre. What this developer wants to do is build about 39 units per acre. This whole thing has to go through first the Planning Commission and then on to the City Council, which will decide whether or not they should issue the special use permit to the developer. So let's talk about the apartments and the rents, right? So 242 rentals. These apartments, again, studios up to 3 bedrooms, they're going to go anywhere between $1,000 and $3,000 per month. Now, about 20% of the homes will be considered affordable housing. But to get that affordable housing, those who live there have to make 80% of the area median income, or AMI. We'll talk more about that in a second. The parking plan for this building is one of the most contentious debated things about this whole project. 263 spaces for residents, plus a daycare, and a fence on the south side to block cut-through traffic. So all of these things, the apartment, the talked about daycare facility that could be inside of this building, that has neighbors worried that there won't be enough parking and there'll be a lot of traffic and spillover where they live. We talked to some of those neighbors. Here's what they had to say.
I look forward to having the building put to good use instead of sitting derelict. I'm very concerned that the parking plan is impractical. When you look at 1 bedrooms, there's going to be 1 car, but when you look at 2 and 3 bedrooms, you're very often going to have 2 cars. They talk about young people not wanting cars. I'm a senior citizen. I don't want a car, but Fredericksburg is not a city you can live in without a car. It's not a practical environment. You could manage in Richmond. I know friends in D.C. that don't have cars, but there's a density there and there's a public transportation network there. We do not have that in this city.
I'm kind of excited. So I was born in the hospital and I worked there for 12 years and I want adaptive reuse. So I think from a reuse perspective, it's a great option, honestly. And I do think there needs to be affordable housing, and which sounds like it's going to provide that, but enough parking, big fat question mark.
They always kind of minimize the effect, and they don't they don't want to take in consideration the other development right next door to them. So it's sad if it will be. It's like it will be a tsunami in this section. So now we have people, traffic, everything.
Now let's talk about some of the debate that we heard last night during a public meeting at the Dorothy Hart Community Center, where the developer came to present their plans for this building. The current traffic study compares the level of traffic in the neighborhood to the building's prior use as an office. However, several neighbors who we heard last night speak, they want an updated independent traffic study before the city council takes a vote on this, because they say the building no longer being an office changes the dynamic of the number of cars and the type of people who will be coming to and from the building, thus changing traffic patterns in the neighborhood. That parking lot was also contentious. 263 spaces is what the developer says the building will have for 242 apartments, plus the daycare unit. There is concern over overflow parking onto nearby streets and into school lots, and it has a lot of people talking about traffic and its effects on the area. Now, I told you we talk more about affordability for these homes. Now, roughly 1 in 5 units will be considered affordable housing for teachers, first responders, young professionals who otherwise couldn't live in the city. But there's a catch. In order to qualify for the tax credits that the developer has requested for this affordable housing, the people who live in these affordable units must make 20% of area median income, and that's $85,000. So for affordability, well, for some, that's probably not affordable. Many people at the meeting asked rentals only. Some said if you make condominiums, you're going to get a different type of tenant, someone who will buy and potentially care more about the property and, by extension, the neighborhood. So the developer told them that the historic tax credits finance preservation of the building and typically require rental use only. And so what's the impact on the schools? Because that's another big question people always ask. If you're going to build a new housing development, a new apartment building, a new neighborhood, how many students are you going to put into public schools once it's built? The developer estimates that about 20 children will enter the school division after the building is finished. Some final notes on this project. Since the building opened, it has largely been off of the city's tax rolls because it was for the longest time a hospital, a nonprofit entity. The developer says that if they're successful in converting this into an apartment complex, it will put about $50 million back on the tax rolls for the city to use for anything, public schools, public works, you name it. So let's talk about what's next. The Planning Commission meets on Wednesday, September 10th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. at City Hall. That's at 715 Princess Anne Street. That's when they'll hear a plan for this proposal to remake the hospital. We'll put a link to the description to the commission's website so you can see the agenda and read all the background information. And if you choose to comment, you can go to the meeting. You can also email the commissioners your thoughts and your opinions prior to the vote. Now, some of the things we'll be watching from this planning commission meeting is what the city staff have to say about this project, if they endorse it, if they think it's a good idea, how the parking ratios would be enforced. And I'm curious to see whether or not the daycare center could open, or potentially a coffee shop, as was discussed at that community meeting held. And we'll also be looking for how they plan to present the aesthetics of the building and what it's going to look like. There was even discussion about making a grand foyer with the main entrance to the old hospital and how that should be a welcoming space for people who live there. And finally, after the commission makes its call, whether it gives it thumbs up or thumbs down, the whole plan will move to the city council, and we'll be watching it to see what they decide. So what do you think? Should the old hospital be converted into an apartment building? Does this adaptive reuse fit Fredericksburg? Or should the building be something else, boarded up or torn down? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'm Uriah Kaiser.